On today's episode of Homeworthy, we're in Atlanta, Georgia, visiting the home of interior designer Kevin Francis O'Gara. Kevin describes his style as new Regency, blending old and new elements in true Southern fashion. Since founding his design studio in 2018, Kevin has brought a refreshing take on classic style to interiors in Atlanta and the Southeast. Growing up with an appreciation for antiques, he skillfully balances timeless style with a contemporary approach. Enjoy!
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Kevin. Welcome to my home in Midtown Atlanta. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hi, I'm Kevin Francis O'Gara. I'm a creative director at Holland McRae and founder of design studio Kevin Francis Design. I live in Midtown Atlanta in a 2-bedroom apartment right off of Peachtree Street. I call my style new Regency style because it's always been a mix of new and old, but always with a really fresh and updated feel. I grew up around a lot of antiques, and so I really have a deep appreciation for classic proportions, but I love mixing in contemporary elements and having that juxtaposition of new and old, modern and traditional. Welcome to my kitchen and dining area. When you walk into my apartment, the first thing you see is this little entry vignette. I put this Greek key vase on top of this old column that was actually my grandfather's. So I love seeing this as soon as I walk in. And over here at the island, there's not much you can do in an apartment kitchen, but adding these fabric globes over the existing pendants made the biggest difference in here in terms of just softening the light, making it more ambient and more moody, and making it feel a lot warmer. So I've got these leather bar stools, and I added removable wallpaper to this wall right here to just define this area and make it feel a little bit more special and personalized. My favorite places to find removable wallpaper are Decorator's Best, Temp Paper, Walls Need Love, and Spoonflower. I love this shell mirror so much. It's such a fun piece, and I definitely didn't want to go too coastal. So I like the juxtaposition of this landscape mural wallpaper that's kind of a toile with the mirror. I think it's a fun mix. In most apartments, the island is one of the first things you see when you walk in. So I do like to keep it as clear as possible, and it sort of acts as an entry table. So I've got this bowl where we keep our keys, and so it's really easy to just toss them in there, and so helpful to have a place for them to go as you leave and enter. And I really like having flowers and plants over here to just make it feel as fresh as possible as soon as you walk in. It's a good first impression. So I grew up in Atlanta, and I've always been interested in all types of design. But when I was a sophomore in high school, I started a blog called Dowswell and started really writing about home tours and design inspiration that I found and loved, and got more and more interested in home design. And that's how I really got into the design industry and started building my follower base and my style and honing my eye for design. And that led me into launching my design studio, which, and for my design studio, I provide design services, but also have a collection of area rugs, artwork, and candles. And my first area rug collection I launched going into college and have since expanded into 4 other collections, one of which is in this room right now. Having a dining area was such a huge plus for this apartment, having room for a table, and I love that I was able to use my mom's dining chairs in here. I grew up with these chairs and I love the fabric. It's one of my favorite florals. So they're so special to me and it makes me so happy to see them in here. And I definitely drew a lot of color palette inspiration from these chairs. So they really helped to define the rest of the apartment and they make such a nice moment right here in the middle. I paired these chairs with a more contemporary table with a lighter finish because they are more traditional. And I love that the lighter color just helps brighten this middle area and make it feel airier. Sometimes it's easier for me to have plants in the apartment than fresh flowers because they're a little bit less high maintenance. So I've definitely done a lot of planters with indoor plants to keep things green without having to change out the flowers every week. I love this more tropical plant in here because it's got so much height. And then I added these crystal candle holders because they're just so reflective and add a nice lighter, more modern touch to the table. The bar area was such a great bonus for this apartment. And I love to entertain, so this is definitely a centerpiece in the place. But I have got a great big tray here. I'm a big believer in trays. I think they make any surface look way more organized and put together. So when in doubt, put a tray under it. And then I've got a picture of my grandfather and some books on entertaining, some cookbooks. And this is just kind of our entertaining hub. My favorite cocktail is a Hugo Spritz. I love anything with elderflower liqueur, and a Hugo Spritz is just so easy, simple, and has such a sophisticated flavor profile. A Hugo Spritz is elderflower liqueur, Prosecco, or any sparkling wine, and a splash of sparkling water. Now we'll walk over to the living room. So when I looked at apartments, my roommate's my little sister, so we both had our own little lists of things that we wanted, but a big one for me was having easy access to take the dogs out, and being in the middle of Midtown where it's super walkable was important. I also was looking for a really great sized living space that hopefully included a dining area so that I could entertain, because that is like my favorite pastime. Most recently, I had a spring dinner party, and I really love entertaining most in the spring and summer when the weather's warm and the produce is fresh. And I tend to make a super easy recipe so that I'm not in the kitchen the whole time. So I made some pesto, chicken, green beans, and fresh cherry tomatoes over rice. Super simple and easy, and was just such a great way to kick off the season. Welcome to the living room with Leopold and Persephone. This is definitely my favorite space in the apartment. I spend the most time in here with my friends. It's full of olive green, lots of different color, pattern, and textures. And this is definitely a great example of how I like to mix different styles together. This piece is one of my favorites. It's the Arctander clam chair. This is a historic Danish design, and it's just such a cozy chair. And I've seen it in so many amazing home tours in Europe, and I'm so excited to have one in my apartment. I wanted to incorporate as many cozy textures as possible while keeping the space feeling pretty light and airy. So I've got a great mohair on my ottoman here, a linen on this mini chair, and a cream boucle on the long sofa against this wall. I styled this nook back here with a bar cart, but I just put books and decor on it because I've got a bar already in the dining area. And one of the biggest impacts that I made in this area was adding a darker green wallpaper. It's actually a faux grass cloth to this nook. It added so much depth and made the nook look so much more intentional and made all the decor over here just pop so much more. So that was a great way to just personalize this area. This portrait is pretty special to me. It's my mom when she was a child. So I love having it in here and being able to see it every day. So one of the challenges with this apartment, which I cannot complain about, is that the ceilings are fairly tall. So I needed something really high impact to put above the sofa. Sofa is pretty low profile and more contemporary. So I figured out a way to bring a lot of pattern to this wall without having to address the entire wall. I took hollow core doors from Home Depot and applied this Lee Joffa linen to them and made these 3 panels. Not only do they soften the space, but they add an architectural element and they really fill out this wall so nicely. And then I was able to layer artwork on top. This is actually a portrait of Leo when he was a puppy. And I love how hidden he is in the greenery. This was at a nature preserve that we used to walk at all the time. One of the keys to decorating in small spaces is having multifunctional pieces of furniture. So I really like using a piece of furniture under the TV that you can use for other purposes. Here I used this desk from Frontgate. It's a great way to hold the TV, but there's also so much depth because it's a desk. So I can stack books in front of it, make it more decorative, or move the books away and use it as a desk if I need to. So this shield above the TV I found at Antiques and Beyond here in Atlanta. It just caught my eye. It's such a fun piece, so sculptural, but I love that it feels like it has so much character and history. On the TV is one of my favorite movies called To Catch a Thief. It's an Alfred Hitchcock with Cary Grant and Grace Kelly, and it is one of my top 3 favorite movies. My ultimate goal for this area was to create a really cohesive color palette, because sometimes when you walk into an open floor plan like this in an apartment, it can feel a little overwhelming with so much that you can see all at once. So that's why I really stuck to a primarily green color palette and really tried to make it feel as inviting but calm as possible so that it really pulled you in once you walk in the door. I'm so excited to share this new rug design. This is my latest design for my studio, Kevin Francis Design, and it's a new construction for me as well. So I really designed it with this room in mind, but it's going to come in 4 other colorways. So I'm excited to share that soon. I think one of the keys to making your space feel customized and personalized is really addressing the walls. One of the big challenges in an apartment is you have these really long blank walls, and finding those high impact pieces that are going to define the space and make it feel like your decor was meant to be there, I think is so key. So definitely using removable wallpaper where you can, having some really larger pieces of art, and often you can do it yourself, which is fun, and you can do it with your friends. So there's so many ways to fill those walls in and make it feel like, you really considered every surface. One thing I always think about when looking at the furniture for a space is making sure I have a mixture of right angles and curved surfaces. So I really like to put a curved end table in an area where you're walking through because it helps make it feel more open and less hard to get by. Just subconsciously, even, it feels like easier to walk by a curved table. So this is the perfect piece to add here where it's a little bit tighter, and I'm adding, kind of playing off of the curves on the sofa itself. Next, I'll take you into my bedroom. When it comes to decorating small spaces and especially rentals, I've had tons of experience. I decked out all of my dorm rooms, and I love finding creative ways to personalize a space. So when it came to this apartment, I knew I wanted to help define each area with removable wallpaper, with the fabric panels that I made for the living room, and definitely with lots of drapery and mirrors and artwork to really help define the architecture and make the space my own. Welcome to my bedroom. This space is my sanctuary, and it involves some of my favorite elements. I've got one of my original maize rug designs. This was my first collection that I ever made. And I have a lot of blue and white in here, which is the color combination that I always return to. The main attraction in here is the do-it-yourself canopy that I rigged up. This was an act of pure imagination. I took curtain tracks and clips and then had this drapery made at my workroom, and I love what it added to the space. I feel like this room really needed something big and soft, and this was the perfect way to add a lot of color and pattern without overwhelming the space and actually making it feel so much softer and more inviting. One of my favorite textures is burl wood. So I've got these burl wood side tables on either side of the bed. And then I really wanted something super tall for my lamps. I think one of the big mistakes that people can make with a king bed is not having big enough lamps because you're dealing with a super big piece of furniture. So having these 40-inch lamps with these big pleated shades really helps balance the big bed. These plates are from Cherish. I really wanted like a super traditional touch in here, and they have butterflies and flowers on them and just are so pretty and special. So they were the perfect way to accent the wall on either side of my canopy without taking away from that fabric at all. This area is very special to me. I've got a portrait of my grandfather, who I never got to meet, but I would have called him Zeus. He was a doctor. He was a pediatrician here in Atlanta. And I just got it framed with this leaf framing, which I love so much. I added a chrome sconce above it and lots of coffee table books, and then an old dresser from my mom that I grew up with. So this space is functional, but it's really very sentimental as well. So this is actually the same wallpaper that was in my kitchen. I had some leftover, and it just makes such a big difference in a recessed nook like this to add something to the back of it. So I used it again in here, and I love that it's neutral and feels like it could go anywhere. Bedding is one of those things where I feel like I've made it once I've got nice linens on my bed. And these are all from Peacock Alley. So they're incredible. And when it came to bedding in here, my dogs sleep with me. So I wanted to be practical. So I went with a coverlet instead of a duvet cover for ease of washing and maintenance. And then I added this super soft alpaca throw to layer on the bed because I do really believe in having as many layers on the bed as possible. So when we moved out of my childhood home, there are a bunch of these floor plans and landscape designs and renderings that I took with me. And a couple years ago, I got 4 of them framed. And so they're so special to me. And I love having them across from my bed because they're just so significant and such a touch point for me. You may not think to put a regular rug in your bathroom, but a wool rug is actually so durable and one of the best things that you can put as a really large bath mat. So I have one of the rugs from my Iconium collection based on Turkish rug motifs in here, and I just love how it elevates my bathroom and adds a more lived-in look. Now I'd love to take you to my sister's bedroom, so follow me. I think my biggest inspiration is always nature. As much as I push myself to explore other color palettes, I always gravitate back towards blues and greens because I just know I'll never get tired of them, and they're just that constant color in nature as well. But my favorite place to look at home tours is from European shelter magazines and publications like World of Interiors. I think the history and the depth of design that they have there is just unparalleled. Welcome to my sister's bedroom. She was the perfect roommate because she told me I can decorate her room however I wanted to. So I had a lot of fun making a space that reflected her and also felt really playful and young and sophisticated all at the same time. The color palette in here ended up being blue and white like my room, really because I found these great panels from Frontgate. Again, another great way to address a large wall above a bed with this triptych. And then I also worked with Pepper Home on these pillows and matching drapery, which really gave the space a custom look and a designer feel to have those things coordinate. Since this room is a little smaller, we went with a platform bed that is really below your line of sight, so it has a much lower visual impact when you walk in. And I used these round burl nightstands, which feel more decorative but have hidden storage, so they're very functional. Again, I really like to use larger table lamps on either side of a bed. So got these big glass lamps and then lots of layers of cream and white throughout all the bedding and textiles in this space. Giving a home soul is really making sure that your authentic self is reflected in the decor. One of the most important pieces in my home are pieces that are either from family members or that have a special memory attached to them, or that I found when I was out with my friend. I think as long as you have those touch points, your home is always going to be special and beautiful because it's meaningful. I love how airy and light her room feels, so my cloud rug design was perfect for this space because it feels like you're stepping into the sky. So it's super relaxing in here and really just like a tranquil sanctuary. Home to me is creating a space that is truly uplifting and reflects your present, but also your hopes for the future.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.